Welcome to the LATAM MedTech Leaders Podcast, a conversation with leaders who have succeeded or plan to succeed in Latin America. Please subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stitcher, etc. Today, our guest is Jonatan Pantanowitz. He's Livinguard's Executive Vice President of Business Development. Jonatan has a wealth of business and leadership experience, having spent the previous 14 years with 3M, where, among other roles, he was managing director for 3M in Israel. He established the first connections between 3M and the Israel innovation ecosystem and held the position of New Tech Scout for 3M New Ventures in Israel. During his tenure, he held board seats with 2 startup companies and was involved in several other investments on behalf of 3M. So, Jonatan, it's great to have you here today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Julio. I am really super pleased to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm really looking forward to the next few minutes where we're going to discuss about Latin America. And I really want to compliment you for an amazing show that you're running. It's really, really impressive. So once again, thanks for having me over.
Awesome, Jonatan. Thank you for your kind words about our show. Is certainly, I'm very proud of what we're building here. We are the only outlet for all things related to Latin America with medical technologies. So,
pretty amazing.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. All right, so let's get started with your journey to Latin America, Jonatan. How you got involved with the region on a personal and professional level?
So if it's okay with you, I'll start with a personal. I actually married with my wife, Michal, was born to native Argentinians that came to Israel, and grandparents from Argentina. So I can tell you, I remember coming to one of the first dinners at my wife's house, and it was the time of the World Cup, and there was some kind of game. I don't remember if it was Argentina playing or England was playing. And I was kind of saying just before we were entering, I really like the English team, and she kind of told me, whatever you do, don't say that during dinner. So I really, you can say I married into the Latin, passion and love for food, for people, and it's amazing.
Excellent. I'm really happy to hear that.
Thank you. On a professional note, definitely when I was in 3M, I got exposed to a lot of our activities in Latin America. Unfortunately, I was not able to work directly in Latin America, but the exposure just to the leadership that came out of Latin America and the diversity. I always remember this very well, that on my first visit to 3M headquarters in St. Paul, you come to this huge headquarters. I felt a little lost. I didn't know where I was going. And one of these guys, he was head of the business in Latin America, kind of saw me in the international scene, and he took me under his wing. He said, "Hey, Jonatan, come for lunch." And immediately we were able to connect. And he was a very, very senior guy, but he was completely down to earth. So, for me, coming from my culture, it's really easy for me, and it's comfortable to me to be able to connect on a very personal level, on a very warm level, with the different cultures from Latin America. I was also always impressed by the hunger for innovation and for technology, and the fact that it's while many times it's categorized as Latin America, it's really array of colors. It's you get everything, and the people that I have met and the leadership I have met has always been super sharp, but super warm as human beings. And to me, that makes a huge difference.
Fantastic. I'm really happy to hear that. That's good. So what trends do you see happening right now in Latin America that are making Latin America a great place to do business, Jonathan?
So I think the first things that I mentioned is hunger for technology. I think I think hunger for technology is really growing, and we're seeing a lot of interest in new technologies. I think generally speaking, but definitely also in healthcare and the need to bring in more technologies. I think we're seeing some shifts in regulatory as well when we see maybe traditionally it was mostly reliant on adopting either U.S. or European regulations, but now really establishing own sets of regulatory requirements, definitely in some of the larger and more advanced countries. So this, as a company that is looking to be successful in Latin America, really is a flag for us to understand this and be prepared for this in terms of understanding the regulatory landscape. So it's not enough only to get your US regulatory kind of ticked off or your European regulatory ticked off. You really need to understand the local landscape. So I think that's another big change. I think as it's happening globally, and especially after the pandemic, the need for having technologies that are also disruptive on the one hand, but preventative in the nature for healthcare, for preventative healthcare, like our technology that is all about disinfection of materials, of fabrics, of different substrates. I think this is another change that we're seeing. And this is continuing to happen in what is, I think, a trait of Latin America, which is a very, very competitive environment. It really requires you to be on your toes and understand that each country has a little bit of a different color, has different needs, and I'd say. As a word of caution, I say this to anyone listening, but I say it first of all to myself, is that there really needs to be a fundamental decision to go into Latin America, because you either go all in, or leave it for when you're ready to go all in. And I think, we might have. Double-footed ourselves, in the beginning, but I think now we're getting ready and we are understanding you really need to respect Latin America as a market in order to be successful there. If there's one thing I learned, it's that.
Great answer. Yeah. You answered my next question, which was going to be, how do you see Latin America as a land of opportunity to do business? So in essence, you pretty much summarize everything as, yes, it's a land of opportunity if you're willing to take it seriously.
Absolutely. And we understand this. And I think maybe we did not understand this well enough in the beginning. I'm honest enough to say that. And I think, a true leader is one that can recognize what he's also done wrong, and correct course as needed. And that's what we're doing now in regards to Latin America. And that's also one of the reasons why I've been so excited to come on your show.
Excellent. All right, Jonathan, let's talk a little bit about your technology. What is it that makes your product so special? And then we move on to individual countries, your experience or your plans in Colombia, Brazil, Chile, etc.
Sure. Yeah. So Livinguard has been a technology in development for over 10 years by the founder, Sanjeev Swami, who came from the textile industry. And in the textile industry, there's been for many years several technologies around anti-odor that embed different types of chemicals in the technology to fight bacteria. So this is being perfected with multiple patents and hundreds of different trials on different substrates, and validated by multiple research institutes and universities. And we really were presented with obviously a huge challenge, but also a huge opportunity with the pandemic. And with a very, very small team, we were able to rally around the opportunity and really deliver in a big way. So I was privileged to be together with the founder and a few other people at the forefront of this opportunity, and to steer Livinguard into capturing this opportunity around, building the team, building our brand, building the business. In the beginning, definitely around our face mask business, which was, definitely the product of 2020 for many people, and to do it in a way which is gives the highest level of protection, highest level of performance, comfort, and I think not less important, in a very sustainable way. So our masks are reusable. You can use them for over 6 months with washing them occasionally, and our masks have reduced the need for 6 billion throwaway masks, and we all know the big damage that the throwaway mask, the polypropylene, the plastic mask have been doing to the environment, to our oceans. And I'm sure even when you walk the streets, wherever you are in Latin America, if it's in Rio or if it's in, Santiago or somewhere else, you're seeing a lot of the single throwaway masks thrown away on the floor, and it's really a cause of despair. We've also been very, very active on a social perspective. We've recently donated 200,000 masks in India to help with the dire situation there. We've been donating masks in other causes as well. And we're really looking forward now to bring the next line of products that we're working on. So it's starting from workwear clothing, which is both antiviral and antimicrobial, and professional wear for doctors and hospitals. And we're starting probably in the very near future. We've understood how to get our technology used in plastics and different types of plastics. And we're getting this also to get tested on some catheters, for example. So catheter-borne infections are one of the main cause of urinary infections or infections born at the hospital when a patient comes in. And if we will be able to help reduce that, it's really going to help a lot of people and a lot of patients. So really focusing on the preventative side of medicine and healthcare from a very unique aspect, with a company that has spent a lot of time. We have about 10 PhDs in the company focusing on technology and R&D. We have a fantastic lab here in Switzerland, and we're building a larger one, because we really believe that the core is coming with the right technology and the future technology. And soon we'll be coming out with even biocide-free technology to work on textiles. We've worked for 5 years with the US EPA, and very recently have received the first EPA-approved self-disinfection approval for a textile.
Really?
So now that's gaining a lot of interest in the US and from many companies and healthcare companies and the government and so on. So we're really looking forward to take everything that we've achieved and now bring it in an organized way into Latin America.
What makes your company different from the competition? Is there anybody else in this space trying to do something similar?
I think there are quite a lot of companies in this space. Some of them have been around longer, or as long as we have, some even more. I think in the last year, in the pandemic year, we've seen a lot of companies hop on the boat and try to do it. I think where we differ is really in a couple of areas. It's definitely, first of all, the technology. We have, I believe, what is the most cutting edge technology, and we're keeping the investment on technology very, very high. Our focus on bringing in safety in our products and doing multiple testing, both internally and externally, so to bring the safest product to our customers. And lastly, I'd say is the sustainability angle. So both in the products themselves, but also in the technologies that they enable our customers to be more sustainable in their operations. So I'd say those are the biggest differentiations from a company perspective towards other companies in this field. It's definitely getting a little more crowded nowadays. And I mentioned earlier about the donations. I think at the end today, when you choose on which company to partner with or to work with, you really want to look at a company that, in addition to technology, also has a heart.
Yes, agree. Yeah.
And I definitely think that we have a heart, and you see that in the way that people are putting their hearts into the work with the Livinguard, and also our actions speak louder than words in terms of the way we're helping areas with donations and working with these types of organizations to help people in need.
Yes, and it's a beautiful way to market a product, doing good, because people start adopting the product for free. I mean, they enjoy the benefits for a great cause, and the words start to spread out about the technology.
Absolutely, it's a good way. I think on both of these, I definitely think it's a fantastic trend.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think, like we've seen also in the area of sustainability, and also as we've seen in the area of social responsibility, I think any action is good action, and it's better than having none. But I think we also see a lot of people doing some manipulations around this, and using name dropping and just building a nice sustainability site. It's really, for me, it's something that I'm personally very, very passionate about. I held a global, I held an area leadership position in 3M around sustainability. I was able to get really close to this and understand.
Oh, did you really? Okay.
Yes, and I'm using these learnings now, and I've become very close and passionate about this. And I think we all, as consumers, as business people, need to be really critical when we look at these types of initiatives. Are they genuine? Or are they just a nice, makeup?
Yeah.
So I'm definitely pushing that for Livinguard. We do it the genuine way, and I'm happy to say that up until now we've been able to do that.
Yeah, with a heart, as you said. Yeah, I like that. And also a quick side comment. This issue of the pollution, the trash that we're generating, I think the remedy is worse than the problem. I mean, just by looking at the sustainability aspect of it is in itself a huge repercussion of the actions that we've taken as a society to stop the virus from spreading. Not to mention alcoholism, poverty, domestic violence, all that stuff, elective procedures that never happen, people die. I mean, it's just overwhelming. So anyway.
Just to finalize on the sustainability point, I realized in the beginning of the pandemic, it was wear anything you can to cover your mouth and face.
Yeah.
And if, the best availability was a reusable mask, that's fine. It was, safety for the masses. I'm talking now to customers and to partners, and we're seeing the trend for face masks, for example, go down and go back to But funnily enough, people are actually starting, especially in the Western world, and I don't know, I know less about what's happening in Latin America. People are definitely more used to wearing face masks. And they like the fact that they also, not only they didn't get COVID, they also didn't get the flu. And
that's true. That's a great point. Yes.
And they were less sick. And hey, so if I need to go on a bus ride or if I need to go on a train ride, I'll put on a face mask. And now that the hysteria is a little down and the anxiety is a little down, people can add some additional thought process to their choice of product, of mask. So how can I choose a product where I'm a little more responsible to the environment as well? So choosing, I want to be safe, but choosing also something that can protect the environment. And I think it's up to, the business leaders, the thought leaders, the celebrities to show the way in that regard. The politicians, the ones that set the trends, to make that decisions, because people will follow.
Yeah, and also something that looks good, that matches your clothes, that matches your style, your personal style, and something that incorporates technology.
I'll tell you a little story about something that looks good. I was pushing really hard that we launch a spring-summer face mask collection in kind of pastel colors.
Yeah.
And, you always had the skeptics of saying, first of all, you had supply chain saying, oh, we'll have more SKUs. Why do we need more SKUs?
Yeah.
We don't need it. Why do we need so many products? Who's going to want? Yeah. And we launched it last week, and it's been a hit because
you convinced everybody to launch it.
Yeah. So it's in 1 week it's become over 20% of our sales
in 1 week.
And,
wow.
And because people, again, after the first few months of the anxiety, people say, okay, this is part of my life now.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I wear sunglasses, so why don't I wear something nice? Why don't I, especially, if you're a little bit fashion oriented, I match it to the shirt, or I match it to my dress if you're a lady or whatever. So I really think this market is going to go to that direction, and we're definitely we're going in both directions. So we're going also into the fun and fashion, but our first and foremost is going into the really more heavily regulated. So we're getting ready to have Ffp2 certification, so the highest level of certification. We already today have our medical type 1 mask, and now we're going to be launching medical type 2R mask, which is good for healthcare workers, for hospitals, for clinics, and so on. But hey, a doctor wants to look good as well. A nurse wants to look good as well. Don't you think?
Totally agree. Before we move on, we're almost 20-something minutes. We haven't talked about the countries in Latin America yet.
Sure.
But I joke that before the pandemic, if you get into a bank with a face mask, they will call the police. Now has become a symbol of status. You should have a face mask in the bank. Things have changed dramatically. I mean, our perception of how we behave and everything. Anyway, Jonatan, let's move on. Let's talk about Latin America, specifically about your plans. What do you have in your plans for the region? What countries are you targeting? And let's start there, please.
So our first priorities are Brazil, Mexico, Chile, Argentina, and Colombia. Naturally, Brazil and Mexico, due to their overall size, they're super interesting for us. Chile, I think, has a unique kind of structure and advancement to the way they're receptive to new technologies. And we wanted to add a couple of others. We're currently engaged in a few dialogues with potential partners for all of these territories. We're also looking for ways to increase our outreach now and engage directly with some customers and start getting our building some preliminary kind of brand building exercises. So this is happening for multiple territories. Some dialogues are more advanced than others. We haven't committed anything yet in any of these territories. We're, I think, like I mentioned in the beginning, we really wanted to try and do things quickly a year ago. But we probably ended up barking up the wrong tree. And, I think many of the listeners can probably identify with that.
Yeah.
Maybe they had this experience in their penetration. And we took a step back, we regrouped, we've aligned our structure now to better handle and put the right focus and attention on Latin America. So this is what we're doing now. And the second thing we're doing in parallel is a very thorough regulatory assessment of the situation for technologies like ours in these countries that I mentioned. So we're understanding what is the kind of status quo, and based on that, we'll be able to analyze, because what looks like possible is that in some of the countries, at least, we'll be entering a bit of almost embryonic of kind of white space. And we can, with the right partner, we can probably influence, the regulatory space in such that it will start looking at preventative hygiene, disinfecting technologies with the right kind of mindset. So that is what is going on at the moment. We're also looking for opportunities to maybe do some good in the process in order to help build our brand. And, like I mentioned, the donation that we did in India, we're happy to look at opportunities to do that as well in Latin America, because we think, like I said, because we're coming and we mean business and we're serious about Latin America. So I think we need to show that we're not only after our own business. We really care for the for the environment. We care for the people in this region. So we're looking at all these three aspects at the moment.
And I applaud your initiative to tackle the Latin American market as a separate set of countries, as a fragmented market. It's not a unified, it's not a one thing fits all, right? One size fits all. It's a very fragmented. It's actually one of the challenging aspects of Latin America. It's 30-something countries, 600 and something million people. I mean, it's a huge market, but it's very fragmented. You have to take country by country, and you're doing the right thing. In my opinion, you are targeting the main countries in the region and separating your strategy in each one with separate partners and understanding the regulatory pathway to get your products approved, and your market plan for each country has to be different. Yeah. Different healthcare systems, different needs, different social dynamics. Even though we all speak Spanish in Latin America, it's not the same. You know that. I mean, you've traveled. Argentina is not the same as Mexico. Totally different.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. So, have you visited other countries beyond Argentina, Jonatan?
No, I have not. I've actually not visited Argentina. The story about the parents did not happen in Argentina, but I have not visited Latin America yet. It's a hole in my international travel education. All right. And it's definitely an area where I'd like to go. I was speaking to my wife over the weekend, and there's a dream I have for my retirement, and I I had a friend that worked with me, and when he retired, he took one of these Land Rovers and really fixed them up into a kind of
I've seen
sleeper
that a lot.
and so on.
Yeah.
And he put it from Europe on a ferry, traveled to Latin America, and drove all through Latin America with the Land Rover. So I'm definitely planning to come before I retire, because, like I said, we mean business about Latin America. So once it's going to be a little more easier to travel with Corona and COVID tests and so on, we'll look forward to do a round there and meet some of our potential partners there. And like I opened when you asked me about my personal experience, and for me, I'm an old timer, and for me still, there's nothing can beat the personal touch. I've been
totally agree. Yes,
I've been suffering from Zoomotis or whatever you can call it,
and Zoom fatigue as well.
Yeah, Zoom fatigue. So I really need to meet some people. I really need to shake some hands. I really need to get some hugs. When doing some business. So I'm looking forward to doing that in Latin America. That's definitely the place where that is it's going to be so important.
Actually, you're bringing up a very, very good point. That's one of the things that make Latin America different from other regions. It's the personal touch. People want to do business with you if they like you as a person. So they invite you to their house. I mean, the first time they meet you, they invite
Mi casa,
you
su casa.
Exactamente. Yes. Así es. And you have to have tequilas with them, even if you don't like tequila. It's part of the game. You have to force yourself to have tequila or pretend that you're having the tequila, because that's the way it is. That's the way they get to like you.
Well, I think the good thing in Latin America that you'll always have some food first with the tequila. So you don't need to get too worried of just having alcohol on an empty stomach. So if it comes with some a good piece of
tacos, a good pizza in Argentina, good arepas in Colombia. Yes, that's very true. Anyway, Jonatan, so we're close to the end of the show, but let's talk a little bit more about countries. Have you found any particular difference between Mexico or Brazil or Colombia, Chile, these countries that you're targeting in terms of how distributors work, the regulatory requirements? What are the challenges that you're seeing in this journey that you're starting?
Yeah, I can say one of the things that we've seen specifically about Mexico, Brazil, is the very strong need to be able to have a dialogue also with the government entities. It's not enough to be connected, with a partner or with a distributor or with an agent and so on. Either your partner needs to have the ability to have a professional dialogue with the government entities, or you need to be able to do that in a separate way. So it's we've learned, and we're learning more, that's going to be a very, very crucial element of our penetration strategy. I think in that regard, again, maybe it's early days to say. I think maybe in Chile, there will be a little more receptiveness for new technologies, for trials, to doing something maybe on a smaller scale, but faster. So these are some of the things we're learning. Again, I think there's, it's not all good, obviously, and we know that in some of these countries you also need to pay attention, to doing the right thing, to corruption or and things like that. So we're playing, that's why we kind of taking it step by step. We don't want to do anything stupid. But I think with the right partner, with an established partner, with an experienced partner, we will be able to manage the complexities that some of these countries present.
Yeah, agree. And also, I will add that your product lends itself to mass marketing. And whether you do it or the shooter, that's another story. But at least in Colombia, which is the country where we do most of our work, and I know the regulatory pathway really well and what's allowed, what's not allowed. Class 1 products can be mass marketed directly to the consumer, directly to the end user, end buyer. So without permission from the regulatory agency. For class 2, A, 2B, and class 3, yes, you can also do direct to consumer marketing, but you have to get permission of the ads and everything, the pieces that you're gonna place on social media, etc. But for class 1 products, very low risk products like yours, you can set up very easily in a week. You can set up a very effective social media, Facebook, Instagram campaign to bring potential users to the funnel, to the website, to a landing page, and then the distributor can fulfill the demand.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned Colombia. I think Colombia was one of the countries that stood out to me, looking at countries that are putting sustainability and environment and protecting wildlife and the nature in the very forefront of what the country is doing.
Yes, exactly. And the reason for that, well, that's the reason that I see. There may be some other good reasons, but one of the reasons, or one of the trends happening in Latin America, Jonatan, is that the OECD is having a stronger influence in the region.
Okay.
So the first country to obtain OECD membership, to gain membership, was Chile years ago. I mean, Chile is a very forward-looking country in Latin America. Yeah. Many people say that Chile is not a third world country; it's a second world country. Yeah. And there's a whole historical reason behind that. In the Pinochet government,
sure.
They sent everybody to study in Chicago.
From a GDP per capita, isn't Chile
yes, one of
leading?
The highest ones? Yes, exactly. And also is the first country in Latin America in its Human Development Index, which is an international rating. That I just wrote an article about Chile for my column on MedDevice Online, so everything is fresh in my head. It's a very advanced country in many ways. Yep. And a lot of countries in Latin America, specifically Colombia, in 1991, copy or got inspired by the Chilean healthcare system and model to set the regulation of what's now the Colombian healthcare system, which is
fantastic.
A top-performing healthcare system in Latin America. So what I was going to say is that the OECD now includes Chile, Colombia, Mexico, Costa Rica just joined the OECD last week, 2 weeks ago, by the way. Mm-hmm. So all these countries are adopting international guidelines, international standards of how to do things right. So sustainability is one of those things, and other social and political
of course.
And technology, science, innovation aspects. So they're adopting best practices around the world by joining the OECD, which is, to me, I think this is a historical moment in the history of Latin America. The Pacific Alliance, which is the club of, or the association of OECD countries in Latin America, is putting together a nice trade bloc that will make it easier for companies like yours to enter the region.
That's amazing. So it's amazing development. It's really...
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I really think great things are happening. I mean, this market, I think, can really rise above other markets in the next few years with all these things are happening. Mm-hmm. It's really, really fascinating.
Excellent. All right, Jonatan. So we are about to end the show. The last question that I usually ask my guests is, what would you say to the CEO of a medical device company that is just starting to look at Latin America as a place to do trials or to do business, commercializing technology? What would be your words of wisdom to him or her?
I would say, and I say this as someone that has maybe learned this the hard way, I would say think about it, take a decision, and if you've decided to go for it, go all in or don't go in at all.
Yeah, great advice. I like it. All right, Jonatan, thank you so much for being a guest in our show. I look forward to being in touch.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Ciao.
Thank you. Bye-bye.